You acting curious. He gon' buy me Gucci if I ask for it. He a classy nigga rockin' Tom Ford. I bet your little sister wanna look like me. I bet your little brother wanna on me. Hood bitch, I ain't average.
It all started with a simple phone call, a promise of $500 in exchange for time. For 24-year-old Felicia Johnson, it seemed like just another opportunity. But the man behind that call, Chukwuebuka Nwaubodo, had already planned every detail of what would become a nightmare. He bought a saw, trash bags, and plotted a route that would erase all traces of her from the digital and physical world. By the time police would later uncover the evidence, the horrifying truth was already set in motion. Felicia would never return home. What no one knew then was that this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment crime. It was the culmination of weeks of preparation. Chukwuebuka had been studying patterns, searching online for ways to kill without leaving evidence, and even rehearsing how to cover his tracks. By the time Felicia stepped into that Uber, the trap was already sealed. She thought she was walking into a meeting. In reality, she was walking into a carefully staged disappearance. And while her family would spend months searching, pleading, and demanding answers, the man who orchestrated it all slipped into the shadows, free, silent, and invisible. Before we confront the moment that shattered everything, let's rewind to where it all began, because the stories that look the most ordinary often hide the darkest truths. Felicia Marie Johnson was born on April 10, 1998, in San Diego, California, to Kevin Johnson and his wife. She grew up surrounded by family, including siblings who adored her. A bright student, Felicia attended local schools where she stood out for her determination, her charisma, and her commitment to her dreams. Even in high school, she was known for her drive, often balancing academics with creative pursuits, from social media content creation to modeling practice. After graduation, Felicia immersed herself in building a professional presence online, going by the name Fivia Marie. She was active in the beauty industry, working on her personal brand, modeling, networking, and posting content that showcased her unique style and energy. Felicia dreamed of breaking into acting and modeling full-time, a goal that took her to different cities, new opportunities, and risks she calculated carefully. Tragically, it was in one of those pursuits that she would be horrifyingly killed. In April 2022, just after celebrating her 24th birthday, Felicia flew alone from San Diego to Houston, Texas, aiming to pursue a professional opportunity at a local nightclub. Felicia checked into the Intercontinental Houston Medical Center Hotel, a polished, modern place in what seemed like a safe area. She texted her dad, Kevin, as soon as she landed that she was safe. Now think about it. How many of us have done exactly what Felicia did? Traveling alone for work, stayed in a hotel in a city we barely knew, met strangers online, took risks, bet on ourselves. That's not recklessness, that's ambition. That's what we're told to do. Make moves, don't wait, go get it. Felicia did everything right. She chose a reputable hotel, she kept her family updated, she was smart, aware, and careful. But predators don't care how careful you are. Because while Felicia was settling into her hotel room, posting on Instagram, texting her dad, someone in Houston was watching. Not randomly, not by accident. He was hunting, and he had already chosen his next target. Felicia was independent, confident, and careful, a young woman chasing her ambitions responsibly. But ambition can be a double-edged sword. Felicia had been talking to a guy on Snapchat, 28-year-old Chukwuebuka Nwaubodo. He was Nigerian by heritage, grew up in Houston, lived on the north side, and worked regular jobs. On the surface, he blended in perfectly. To most people, he looked like just another ordinary guy. No one really knows when their connection started, but here's what we do know. On Friday, April 15th, Felicia had left her hotel and headed to CoverGirls, a nightclub on West Little York Road. She was chasing an opportunity, hoping to land a dancing job. She applied, got turned down, and walked out. No drama, no incident, just another night in a city full of people chasing the same dream. But something happened along the way. Maybe it was inside the club, maybe before she even walked through the doors. Because by the time Felicia made it back to her hotel that night, Chukwuebuka already had her contact information. And that's where things started to take a darker turn. Chukwuebuka reached out with an offer, $500 in cash for a face-to-face meeting. No explanation, no details about what the meeting was for, just money, time, and an exchange. Felicia, who had come to Houston with the goal of earning, agreed. She was there to hustle, to find opportunities, to make her trip worthwhile. And while some might question that choice, ask yourself, have you ever taken a job or side gig without knowing every detail, simply because bills were due or because the opportunity might never come again? Felicia wasn't naive. She was a 24-year-old woman trying to navigate an expensive world, chasing stability and survival. But Chukwuebuka understood that drive, and he knew exactly how to exploit it. Here's the part that really makes you stop and think. This wasn't Chukwuebuka's first time being accused of something serious. 2 years ago, back in 2020, a woman came forward and reported him for sexual assault. She filed a police report, gave her statement, and did everything she was supposed to do. But for reasons we'll probably never fully understand, she decided not to press charges. And just like that, the case was dismissed. No arrest, no conviction, no record. He walked away clean, as if nothing had ever happened. The difference is heartbreaking. That woman lived to tell her story, even if it never went to trial. Felicia, sadly, will never get that chance. On April 16, 2022, at around 3 a.m., Felicia accepted an Uber ride from Chukwuebuka to meet up with him. But what she didn't know was that he had already mapped out every detail of how he planned to trap her. He used a fake address so that if anyone ever traced the ride, they'd end up at an empty apartment instead of his real place. In other words, if police followed the trail, it would lead to nothing. Felicia would just disappear. This wasn't random, it was a setup, built piece by piece. Earlier that same day, Chukwuebuka had gone to the bank. Surveillance cameras caught him withdrawing exactly $500, the amount he'd promised Felicia. Not a dollar more, not a dollar less. And here's the chilling part. Before Chukwuebuka even met up with Felicia, he had already been searching online for escorts in Houston, reading about how to become a serial killer, and even looking up ways to dispose of a body without leaving evidence. While Felicia's Uber was on its way to Windchase Boulevard, Chukwuebuka was already moving. Cameras at his actual apartment complex caught him leaving. He drove separately, took a different route, and got to the fake location he had used in the ride for Felicia just minutes before the ride pulled up. When she stepped out of the Uber, everything looked normal. A guy, an address, the meeting they'd agreed to. She had no idea the place wasn't real. She had no idea the man walking towards her had sinister plans for her. She climbed into his car, and that was the last time anyone outside of Chukwuebuka saw Felicia Johnson alive. The drive from Windchase Boulevard to Nwobodo's apartment on South Richmond Avenue was less than 25 minutes. In that tiny window, Felicia Johnson vanished from every digital trace. Her phone stopped pinging. Location data? Gone. Even her Uber records couldn't connect her to his real address. Nwobodo had created a blind spot, a gap in the grid. And in that gap, he could do whatever he wanted. By 3:30 a.m., Felicia was inside that apartment. By sunrise, Chukwuebuka was already at Walmart. Surveillance footage shows him moving fast, purposeful, his right hand wrapped in fresh bandages, not browsing, not lingering. He picked trash bags, heavy-duty towels, and packs of latex gloves, a flashlight. He paid cash and left. But he wasn't done. On April 17th, the following day, Chukwuebuka was at Home Depot buying a pruning saw used for cutting through thick branches, dense material, and bone. His hand still wrapped in bandages.
And now to those new disturbing details in the Felicia Johnson case. Court documents revealing how she met 28-year-old Chukwuebuka Nwobodo, the man wanted in her. The documents also detailing how he allegedly researched ways to cover up the crime. Our Brittany Ford breaks down the very latest on the investigation.
Court documents show Unwubudu made a plan to cover up Felicia's. I do want to warn, some of the details are graphic. What happened to Felicia Johnson? Questions haunting a heartbroken family and the community who has been following her case closely.
This was a wicked crime and a crime against women and a crime against humanity.
Court documents revealing 28-year-old Chupa Ebeka Unwubudu called an Uber for Johnson in the early morning hours of April 16th after she had posted an advertisement on an escort website. The Uber taking Johnson to a location on Wind Chase Boulevard, an apartment Unwubudu had recently moved out of. Police say Unwubudu picked Felicia up, taking her to his current residence on South Richmond Avenue. Records say he left the apartment shortly after, where he allegedly disposed of her purse and cell phone near Bear Creek Park. The documents highlighting Unwubudu was taken into custody during a traffic stop in early May, but released after officers seized his cell phone. Investigators found Unwubudu had made multiple purchases at a Walmart, including trash bags, towels, and a flashlight, along with a mechanical saw from Walmart and Home Depot. And in the following days had multiple online searches related to can bleach destroy DNA, how to be a serial and most forested part of Houston. A search warrant issued on his Richmond Avenue apartment found DNA police believe is a strong match to that of Felicia's. Johnson's body hasn't been recovered.
Help us find him and get him arrested, for this man is a predator.
Brittany Ford, KHOU 11 News.
Meanwhile, across town, people were starting to panic. Back in San Diego, Kevin Johnson, Felicia's father, is frantic, calling his daughter once, twice, 10 times in a row, all straight to voicemail. Felicia was always on her phone, always posting, always checking in. Now, nothing. Her Instagram is silent. No stories, no likes, no comments. That father's instinct, he feels it in his chest that something is wrong. However, just like we humans always do, we try to reason with ourselves. He says to himself, she's just busy, it's a new city, she'll call back. But by Saturday afternoon, less than 24 hours after she climbed into that car, he knew. He filed a missing person report. From California, Houston police took the information, gave him the standard response, she's an adult, she'll probably turn up. But Felicia wasn't coming back. While Kevin was pleading with the police to start searching, Chukwuebuka was methodical. He had started Googling, can bleach destroy DNA? What does vinegar do to blood? Which is the most forested part of Houston? He wasn't panicking, he was planning, covering his tracks, step by step, with terrifying precision. And here's the question that should haunt you. If he was this meticulous, this prepared, this smart, how did police ever catch him? The answer is just one mistake, one tiny slip, and it led them straight to a crime scene so horrific, so soaked in evidence, there was no question about what had happened inside that apartment. But catching him and keeping him there, that turned out to be two very different things. Once Felicia Johnson's disappearance was reported, the response from Houston police was, at first, methodical, but painfully slow. Her father, Kevin, called the department repeatedly from California, pleading for updates, but standard procedure dictated caution. She was an adult, they said. She might have left voluntarily. Hours turned into a day, and Kevin's instincts screamed that something was wrong. He had raised a careful, intelligent daughter. Felicia didn't just vanish without reason. Frustrated with the police's slow pace, Kevin does what the police department would do. He hires a private investigator to begin searching immediately. He was only a desperate father who's 1,500 miles away, scrambling to piece together what might have happened to his daughter in a city he doesn't know. And his instincts weren't wrong, because the private investigator would soon find something unsettling.
The search for a 24-year-old who vanished after leaving a Houston club continues as Fox 26's Gabby Hart speaks with that woman's father one-on-one today, joining us live from outside the CoverGirls adult nightclub. And Gabby, we understand this was the last place that she was seen.
It is. Felicia Johnson traveled from San Diego to Houston hoping to work here at CoverGirls. We're told that after leaving an audition, she got a ride from a customer that she didn't know. It was the last time anyone saw or heard from this young woman.
You guys, he's so scared.
A brother wondering when his big sister will return home, and a father holding out hope that she's still alive.
Man, I'm just trying to keep myself together. I'm hoping that she's alive.
24-year-old Felicia Johnson was last seen on Friday, April 15th. She was leaving CoverGirl Strip Club on West Little York Road. Her father, Kevin Johnson, says his daughter traveled to Houston to visit family, and she tried to get a job as a dancer at CoverGirls.
These people are young adults, and they just living their life, and nobody's perfect, and sometimes people make mistakes.
After being turned down for the position, she was waiting on an Uber when a customer offered her a ride back to her hotel.
One of their regulars, one of their VIPs.
When no one heard from Felicia Friday night, they became worried. On Saturday morning, they tracked her phone to Bear Creek Park, 4 miles from the strip club where she was last seen. It was found on the side of the road, covered in blood.
I'm running off of pure faith and just not giving up on her, that we're gonna get her back.
Texas EcuSearch scoured the park searching for Felicia with no luck. Her father flew in from San Diego to assist, but he says he believes she's still out there, alive and in danger.
I think she got caught up in one of those trafficking, human situations where they are snatching up these out-of-town girls and putting them to work. That's what I think happened to her. And I don't have any proof, but I feel in my heart that strip club has something to do with it.
We reached out to CoverGirl Strip Club for a comment. I was told the owners never come into the establishment and there was no way for us to speak with them. They also said the manager doesn't take phone calls. Felicia's father has hired a private investigator, and he says he's not stopping until he brings his daughter home.
I'm gonna be here as long as I can, and just in hopes that something positive comes out of this.
Now, we did learn that the FBI is investigating and looking into her disappearance. Police also searching through surveillance footage, but as of right now, there's no information as far as a suspect. Of course, as soon as we learn more, we'll let you know. For now, I'm reporting live. Gabby Hart, Fox 26 News.
Gabby, thanks. Recognizing the signs of human trafficking is taking the first step to potentially saving a victim's life. Now, you can find a list of warning signs to look out for. We have them listed on our website, fox26houston.com. You can also find the numbers to call if you know someone who is being trafficked or even if you think they may be trafficked.
The investigator traced Felicia's phone signals to Bear Creek Pioneers Park in West Houston. The park is a massive wooded area with open fields, the kind of place where things get lost. What was Felicia doing in such an area? Had she gotten lost? When he arrived, he found something chilling. Felicia's phone. It was cracked and bloodied along with her purse and other personal items. The evidence was undeniable. This was no simple disappearance. Kevin was immediately contacted and he called Houston police with the discovery, urging them to escalate the case to a homicide investigation. But he didn't just wait behind them. He immediately got on a flight to Houston. He needed to find his baby girl, and time was important. It was only when he arrived in Houston and showed the police what his private investigator found that they finally mobilized a full-scale search. Teams combed the wooded trails, open fields, and dense brush around Bear Creek Park, bringing in canine units and forensic teams to process the area. Every piece of evidence gathered was carefully documented and sent for analysis. Kevin continued organizing volunteer search parties, posting thousands of flyers with Felicia's photo and description throughout Houston.
The family is pleading for help finding their missing loved one after her bloody cell phone was discovered in a local park.
Yeah, the family of Felicia Johnson says Felicia applied for a job last Friday at a local nightclub, and that was the last time anyone heard or seen from her.
Her loved ones are holding out hope now that she is found safe.
Xavier Walton following the case tonight. Xavier, it is the worst news for a parent. Her father speaking out tonight.
Speaking out, he is shaken up and desperate for answers. Just behind me is the last place anyone saw Felicia Johnson, and her father says he just fears the worst. So he flew in from California to be here to help find his daughter.
She's a beautiful, loving person, just like my mom, rest in peace. She's like her twin.
That's Felicia Johnson's father, talking just feet away from where his daughter was last seen.
I can't put it into words. I'm trying to hold myself together and not just break down, and I don't know where my baby is or what's being done to her.
The family says Johnson was in Houston celebrating her 24th birthday and to make some extra money. Only that's not what happened. Johnson's family says she applied at CoverGirl's nightclub but didn't get the job. They say she was waiting for an Uber, getting ready to leave, when a club patron offered her a ride. She accepted. The family says her cell phone was found here, but not Felicia.
That cell phone was found discarded on the side of the road at Bear Creek Park, and the phone was covered in.
Texas EquuSearch spent hours scouring the area where Felicia's phone was found. Detectives from the Houston Police Department were at the park as well, talking to Felicia's family.
But we want Felicia to know the community is looking for you.
The family, close to where their loved one was last seen, but far from getting the answers they so desperately desire.
I won't rest for a day in my life until I have you back.
A dad there desperately wanting to find his daughter. Meantime, Houston police, they were here yesterday to get surveillance video to hopefully ID whoever it was Felicia got in the car with. Reporting live in Northwest Houston, Xavier Walton, KHOU 11 News.
The urgency of the search highlighted a painful reality. Without Kevin's persistence, it's possible this case would have languished in inaction, like so many other missing person reports involving young black women. Detectives kept finding bits of Felicia's belongings scattered in the brush, but not Felicia herself. That's when her father, Kevin, had a heartbreaking realization. Police weren't moving fast enough, and he believed it was because of who his daughter was. That's when community activist Quanell X stepped in. If you don't know him, Quanell X is a Houston organizer and the leader of the new Black Panther Nation.
She came here, stayed for a minute, for a little while. She called the Uber. Uber was taking too long to really get here. So a gentleman here at the club offered to give her a ride to where she needed to go. Felicia has not been seen since. No cell phone activity, no credit card activity, no social media activity. She has absolutely just vanished off the face of the earth. The family was able to get the last ping of the location of where she was with the cell phone. That cell phone was found discarded on the side of the road at Bear Creek Park. On the side of the road right there at Bear Creek Park, and the phone was covered in blood. We believe that she is the victim of foul play. We believe that she's being held against her will. We believe that she, hopefully by God's grace, is still alive. But we want whoever's holding her to know that we will not rest. We will not stop looking. We will continue looking for her, and we will continue hunting you. No matter what takes place, we will continue hunting you, and we will not forget Felicia. We believe this young woman is the victim of foul play. She's been kidnapped, and that she's being held against her will. And law enforcement needs to do a better job of taking this case a lot more serious than they have. Once we found that cell phone covered in, law enforcement still took their time getting involved with the family. And then we were able to speak with law enforcement, myself in particular. Then they began to make some moves and get busy. But still, we believe had they responded quicker, more could have been done by just coming to this nightclub and getting the surveillance footage of who she got into the car with, getting surveillance footage of who the gentleman was inside the club. We understand that there's cameras on the inside also as well as the outside. And so they have footage of who this gentleman was and what car he was driving. I spoke with their lawyer yesterday. He said he would do all he can to help law enforcement with his video footage. We know law enforcement finally came to the nightclub yesterday to retrieve this footage, just yesterday. And they just received the cell phone back from the family that they discovered what on the phone. And clearly the picture of the phone show it's on it. And they finally took it, and now they're processing it. But we want Felicia to know the community is looking for you. We're turning over every stone. We'll leave no door locked or unopened until we find where you are. Whoever has her, please release her. If you have her, let her go. It's not worth your life for the rest spending the rest of their life behind bars doing something stupid to this young woman.
New calls being made tonight for the public's help in finding the man accused in the disappearance of Felicia Johnson. Johnson was last seen at the CoverGirls nightclub on West Little York Road back in April. Community activist Quanell X and the Rainbow Coalition spoke out tonight, calling for justice in the case. Police are now searching for 28-year-old Chukwuebuka Nwobodo. He is charged with and tampering with evidence.
We will not rest until you have been arrested. We want the suspect to know that we're going to look for you night and day, brother, until you are arrested. We want the suspect to know that the no snitch policy will never protect you in our community.
Investigators believe the suspect killed her inside of his apartment and got rid of her body days later. Anyone with any information about his whereabouts is asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 713-223-TIPS.
When Houston police finally started looking into Felicia's disappearance, they did what investigators usually do these days. They went straight to the phone records. They subpoenaed Snapchat, tracked her digital footprint, and pieced together her last hours. That's when Chukwuebuka Nwobodo's name surfaced. They found exchanged messages, an agreement of $500 for a late-night meeting at his place. But here's the part that shows how calculated he was. He didn't use regular texting. He used Snapchat. Messages vanish, screenshots get flagged, and evidence becomes harder to hold on to. Not only that, surveillance footage showed Felicia being picked up by Uber and entering a vehicle that did not take her to the expected location, matching Kevin's private investigator's findings. Nwobodo's movements were now clearly linked to her disappearance, but the critical question remained: where was he and what had he done? After gathering enough information, Houston PD obtained a search warrant for Chukwuebuka's apartment on South Richmond Avenue. However, the most shocking revelation was yet to come. On May 13, 2022, officers executed the warrant. Forensic teams immediately detected bloodstains smeared across the bedroom floor and hallway, drag marks consistent with moving a heavy body, and traces in the bathroom indicative of attempts to clean up. DNA tests confirmed Felicia's presence at the scene and the likelihood that she was killed in the apartment. Everything detectives found should have sealed his fate, because what Houston police did next is the reason Chukwuebuka is still free today. And trust me, it would make you lose your mind. The police had it all: DNA evidence from the apartment and Chukwuebuka's car, surveillance footage placing him with Felicia, purchase records showing trash bags, gloves, towels, and a pruning saw acquired after she vanished, medical records of Chukwuebuka's injured hand, likely stained during a struggle, and Google search history detailing methods to commit murder, destroy DNA, and cover tracks. With this overwhelming evidence, Houston police pulled over Chukwuebuka on a routine traffic stop. He was behind his own car, a plain sedan, nothing that stood out. Officers walked up and asked him to step out. They had enough evidence to tie him to a missing woman, enough probable cause to search. Right there on the side of the road, they opened the car. What they uncovered left no room for doubt. In the trunk, officers uncovered a shovel with dirt still clinging to the blade, a kitchen knife stained with dried blood, and a box of latex gloves, the kind you buy in bulk. The back seat held cleaning supplies, bleach, towels, all the tools of someone trying to erase a mess. And tucked under the passenger seat, a handgun. But the real turning point came when forensics made a swab. The trunk, the knife, and the upholstery. The tests didn't just suggest a connection, they confirmed it. The blood belonged to Felicia. No doubt, no question. They discovered photos on his phone showing a dismembered woman's body, not Felicia, someone else. No metadata, no timestamps, no location, just images. Which leaves two possibilities. Either he'd been studying this for a long time, or Felicia wasn't his first victim. Not only that, on the morning of April 16th, the same day Felicia disappeared, Nwobodo had walked into a clinic with deep cuts on his right hand. The staff asked what happened, and he gave a simple answer, that he had cut himself opening boxes. They treated him, bandaged the wound, and logged it in his file. But think about that. Who needs stitches from a cardboard cut? Investigators didn't buy it, especially when the timing lined up with a struggle and his later purchases of saws and trash bags. That injury told a different story. The evidence was overwhelming, more than most detectives ever get in a murder case. You'd think the next step would be obvious: arrest him, charge him, lock him up. But that's not what happened. What Houston police did instead is the reason Chukwubodo Nwaobodo is still free today. On May 13, 2022, Chukwubodo sat in an interrogation room at Houston PD. His car had been impounded, his phone seized. Investigators laid everything out: the blood, the surveillance footage, the searches, the $500, the saw. He knew he was cornered, but in interrogations, what matters isn't what someone says, it's what can be proven, and the police already had enough. Still, after documenting everything, bagging the evidence, they made a decision that would haunt the case forever. They let him walk. No charges, no arrest, no holding cell. That night, Chukwubodo left the station, got into his car, and vanished. He hasn't been seen since. Houston PD claimed they needed more time to complete the case, giving Nwaobodo a 3-week window to disappear. By the time Harris County filed formal charges in June 2022, he was gone, untraceable. The failure to detain him immediately highlighted systemic issues in law enforcement. A suspect with clear, damning evidence was allowed to vanish, leaving Felicia's family in agony and her killer at large. Kevin Johnson's ongoing advocacy, volunteer searches, and pressure on the police were crucial to keeping the case alive. After Chukwubodo was released from police custody in May 2022, the Johnson family faced months of uncertainty, frustration, and fear. Kevin Johnson's worst nightmare had become a daily reality. The man who had murdered his daughter was free, and the system that should have protected Felicia had failed. Authorities have developed several theories about Chukwubodo's whereabouts. One possibility is that he returned to Nigeria, where his family roots lie among the Igbo ethnic group. Extradition processes are complicated, and a fugitive with connections abroad could vanish entirely. Another theory suggests he may have fled to Europe, where large Nigerian communities exist and could provide anonymity. Finally, investigators fear he may still be in the United States, living under a new identity in a major city like Atlanta, New York, Los Angeles, or Chicago, carefully avoiding detection while potentially planning new crimes. Felicia Johnson's story has become a cautionary tale about systemic failures in law enforcement, the dangers of predators who study their victims and forensic processes, and the lengths to which a grieving family must go to demand justice. Communities have held vigils and used her case to raise awareness about the risks young women face and the need for urgent attention to missing Black women in particular. Kevin Johnson hasn't stopped in his search for justice for his daughter. His tireless advocacy highlights both the resilience of families and the persistent gaps in criminal justice. He keeps searching, keeps speaking out, keeps Felicia's name alive, because if he doesn't, if he lets the case fade, then she risks becoming just another statistic, another missing woman whose story gets forgotten, and Kevin refuses to let that happen. This fight isn't only about Felicia Johnson. It's about every young woman who trusted the wrong person, every family forced to play detective because the system moved too slowly, every case pushed aside because of who the victim was or what they were doing when they disappeared. Felicia made a choice: to meet someone she connected with online, to accept a ride, to take a chance. Millions of people make similar choices every day and return home safely. The problem isn't the risk she took. The problem is predators, those who plan, who hunt, who exploit vulnerability. And when we catch them, when the evidence is clear, the system has to deliver justice. Otherwise, every warning, every awareness campaign, every be careful speech means nothing. Felicia Johnson's case remains a stark reminder. Even when evidence seems overwhelming, delays or missteps in the system can allow a dangerous predator to escape, leaving families and communities in continued fear and uncertainty. The story also underscores the importance of vigilance, community involvement, and holding institutions accountable when lives are at stake. This story is a cautionary tale for anyone who believes that careful planning or technology can guarantee safety. It underscores the tragic truth: sometimes ambition and caution are not enough to protect against the calculated evil of another human being. I hope Felicia's killer Chukwubodo Nwaobodo will be found soon and brought to justice. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.